Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Hunter x Hunter: The Last Mission. Clearly, I'm excited for this. This is a movie I've been wanting to get to ever since I did Phantom Rouge on the channel. I decided to put it off a little bit and hold off on it just to separate them a bit. As well as at the time, I don't think I was actually finished with the 2011 series. So I had to do that too. And then I just kind of kept putting it off. I kept forgetting about it and putting it off. Because if I look here, just real quick, when was the last... When did I do Phantom Rouge? Back in March of last year. Not even May, March of last year. And if I look this up, I finished Hunter x Hunter in June, so a few months after that. So it's been like half a year since I could have gotten to this, and I just haven't. I just kept putting it off, but now we're finally going to be getting into it. And yeah, I'm excited. I don't know anything about this. I don't know, like, besides obviously our main team, I don't know who else might be appearing in this from the series. I don't even know, like, where, like, it would, I guess you could consider take place. Like, would the events of this, like, be before Chimera Ant? I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. I don't know when it came out. I don't know, like, how much of the series you would need to see beforehand, but either way, I am, like I said, excited. I'm a big fan of the series. I really enjoy it. I've watched it multiple times now, and outside of just currently watching through it with my sister, I watch reactions to it and all. And it's just really that good. It sucks that Togashi has had the health issues that he has. I understand why he has not been able to finish it or continue much, why it's been on hiatus for so long. I don't blame him. It's just, I kind of want more. Of course I do, because it's that good. And hopefully one day we'll get more. Hopefully. But in the meantime, we're just going to enjoy what we've got. And this is the last thing I really need to see, because I don't really feel a need to watch the 99 series at this point. So at this point, this is the last thing that I haven't seen that I really want to. After that, I'll be pretty much caught up. Outside of the manga, but I don't read manga, so. So yeah, I don't know really what to expect from this. I'm just hoping for something really good. I'm hoping for some great moments from our characters. I feel like we'll know when this takes place based on a few factors, though. Like, if Killua can use his lightning and stuff, it'd probably take place at least after Greed Island. And then there's the fact that, like, certain characters show up. Like, if we see Bisky, then it's definitely after Greed Island. There's a lot of factors to take into account with this. But I'm very, like I said, very excited to see what we've got in store. I'm hoping to see characters like Hisoka, of course. Maybe we'll see the Phantom Troop. That would be cool. I I don't know. I don't know what to expect. So, outside of just forcing these pre-thoughts to go on a little longer, we're just going to get this started. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and for now, I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. This was great. This felt like, it felt like Hunter x Hunter. It felt like a natural part of things. And I just honestly really enjoyed it. It wasn't like perfect. It wasn't my like favorite villains or anything from this series. And obviously, of course, it's non-canon to the series, but still. It's a really interesting story, a really interesting idea that would definitely fit in with the series. It's not like anything in it is expressly, like, at least that I can think of, contradictory or would go against anything the series has gone into. It seems like it would all fit very well. So basically, in the past, the Hunter organization had this sort of Black Ops-like group called the Shadow, which was led by a man named Jed, who was Netero's close friend. However, once the Shadow began using Own, which is basically an evil form of Nen created from anger and hatred and grudges, Netero had to take out the Shadow in order to, well, protect people. Jed, however, saw this as a betrayal and vowed to get revenge. Years and years pass, and the descendants of the Shadow are eventually, like, pursued, hunted down, and taken care of by the government in a very, very fucked up manner. To the point where they had to hide their involvement with all of this and basically move on as if it never happened. To where there's only 3 survivors left. They end up resurrecting Jed. And together they form a covenant with Own to get revenge for what the government and the Hunter Association had done to them. And this perfectly fits in with the series, because as we've seen throughout Hunter x Hunter, there is a lot of this kind of more realistic approach to how the Hunter Association works. It's not perfect. It's a government association that has a lot of issues, has a lot of problems running through it. We see that very, very heavily in both the Chimera Ant and Hunter's, the chairman election arc. In both of those arcs, back to back, we see how the Hunter Association is not all it's cracked up to be. It's actually pretty fucked up in a lot of ways. It has a lot of issues. It's not necessarily the most corrupt government association we see in any anime or in real life, obviously. But it's still pretty corrupt, nonetheless. And it's people like Netero who kind of have to keep it in line, but have also admittedly committed their own sins within it. Netero admits that in here. And it's very clear that he's acknowledged that within the canon as well. So, I really like what they did with that. And having this dark history, this dark secret to it. But I also really like these descendant characters. Gaki is the only one whose name I remember. He very much reminded me of Wamu from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 2, Battle Tendency. Um, Wamu was this ancient, for those who don't know or might need a reminder, Wamu is this ancient pillar man, an ancient race of superhumans who basically died out in a war with these Hamon users, these users of another superhuman breathing ability. And only four pillar men at the start of part 2 of JoJo remain. Wamu is one of them, and Wamu is not evil. He is a warrior. He believes in his cause and believes in what his master, Lord Kars, says. But he is not evil. He is a warrior and has a warrior's heart, and we see that in his battle with Joseph. They have an amazing battle that ends with Wamu earning Joseph's respect and vice versa. It's a great show of just that kind of idea, the warrior spirit, and it very much carries over to Gaki in this series, or in this movie. Gaki is very much a warrior first, before his grudge, which is why he's the first one to repent of it. During his fight with Kilo and Gon, he comes to respect them. He comes to admire their skill. And when they defeat him, he accepts it. He's surprised, but he accepts it. And he acknowledges them. Unfortunately, because of the own flowing through his body, he does end up dying. But he dies having rejected that own. He dies having become the person he should have been. The second of them was a lot less repentant. If we're comparing to the Pillar Men, I guess he's more in line with AC/DC. He fights with his grudge to the end, and even in death, infects Kurapika with Jed's blood. He never turns his back on Own, and he never turns his back on his grudge, unlike Gaki. And I like that they're not all the same in that regard. And then there's the girl who I don't remember her name. She stabs herself to unleash this Nen power that binds Netero. And I looked this up. Apparently she didn't kill herself. She hadn't actually died. The Own was keeping her alive. But she was kind of like in this almost stasis during all of this. So she stabbed herself in the chest, presumably in the heart, to unleash this Nen, or this Own, which bound Netero and his Nen. And again, all for the grudge. And she, unlike Gaki, who was saved by his own decision, had to be saved through someone else. And I like how this, again, both complements and contrasts her comrades. She is saved, like Gaki was. But unlike Gaki, she doesn't make the decision right away herself. She actually has to be convinced of it by Killua, who comes in and tells her it's okay. And she releases it and dies right then and there to put an end to this. These three were very impressive characters. Honestly, more so than Jed. And I'll get to Jed. I really liked their small character arcs in this, because obviously it's a single movie. There's not a lot of time to develop them too much. But I like their character arcs, and I like how they each ended out in a different way and had to be defeated in different ways. Not all of them could be reasoned with. Not all of them could be defeated purely on strength alone. They all had their own ways to be taken out, and all of them, in the end, died because of their grudge. Their grudges led to their deaths. Like with Gaki, it literally caused him to explode, violently killing him because he was defeated by a hunter. And in the end, turned his back on his grudge and his own because he had come to respect two hunters. The other guy was killed because his grudge refused to allow him to see anything beyond it. He was so fueled by rage, so fueled by sorrow, so fueled by vengeance that his own basically consumed his mind. And it led to him being killed by Kurapika because he couldn't see past that. It blinded him. And one small distraction from Leorio was enough to keep his mind off of Kurapika for just a second. And the girl was just so enthralled by her own hatred, her own sorrow, her own vengeance, her own, that she was willing to die for it. That she was willing to act as a sacrifice for this entire plan to go off. And in the end, she's the only one who actually died because she... Well, no, not the only one, but she died just like Gaki because she rejected that in the end. She saw the futility in it. And I don't think any of these three were really bad people. They were just so vengeful and so broken because of what the Hunter Association did. And it's a very real thing. People have become bad like that, have been driven to do bad things because of the government in real life a lot of times and in a lot of media. And it's terrible. It doesn't excuse their actions. It doesn't stop the fact that they need to be stopped and in some cases taken out. But it's still sad that they're driven to that. It's fucked up that we live in a world where people are driven to horrible shit like that all the time. And then we have Jed, the former close friend of Netero, who felt extremely betrayed. He felt as if his best friend had abandoned and turned on him. His vengeance was overcome. His vengeance overcame everything else because he felt that he had lost everything from someone that he trusted. And it consumed him so much that his spirit wouldn't even pass on. It remained, waiting to be brought back in a fresh body. And again, Jed wasn't really a bad guy, but the things he did and the route he took was definitely bad. Unquestionably so. But in the end, even he got to die in peace. He didn't regret his actions. He didn't turn away from Own like Gaki and the girl did. But he was cleansed of it nonetheless, thanks to Gon, and was able to finally pass on. And I think that's really deep and interesting. The problem with Jed, though, is that outside of that, it's like he's not even that fun to watch or interesting to watch. Like, most of the time, he's just kind of this edgy, angry, vengeful dude who looks like a mix between Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and a Fate Stay Night character. And he's just not that interesting of a villain outside of his just main motivation. Even his abilities just aren't like it's kind of interesting that his main ability is a mirror of Netero's. Yeah, because Netero has the god and he has the demon and everything, and that's kind of interesting. But they don't do too much with it that would surprise you or that would excite you. And honestly, most of the time he's not doing much of anything. Like, he's not even the one who trapped Netero. Most of the time he's just standing there until the very end. Like, yeah, I get that in a lot of movies and a lot of even anime movies, the villain doesn't really get into action until the end, but they a lot of times will have at least something to do. They'll at least have more of a presence. He's just kind of standing around being edgy. He doesn't actually really get good until later, until almost the end. And he's so overshadowed by the other three, especially Gaki and the girl. And the girl, most of the movie, is kind of in like this semi-comatose state because of her actions to bind Netero. And she's still more interesting. Because when she did that, and she did that like with a smile and was so willing to do that, I felt my heart break. Because I knew there was going to be a sad story behind this. This young, like, friendly-looking girl just comes in and does that? There's gotta be a big story behind that. So it's like, I felt my heart break knowing that we were going to find out about that. And yeah, it was heartbreaking. It was really fucked up and sad what happened to them. So even she was more interesting than Jed. And honestly, what happened to them was honestly worse than what happened to Jed. Like, what happened to Jed was definitely bad. It was definitely fucked up, and it was a problem. But what happened to them was actually much worse. All the descendants of the Shadow were just completely murdered by the government, hunted down and murdered just because of who they were. Like, a lot of them were probably kids. Like, these three were when they were first confronted by all of that. And it's just like, it's super fucked up. The funny thing is, these three only became engrossed in their vengeance and only went to Own in the first place because of what the government did, because of what the Hunter Association did to them. It's like the Hunter Association said, "Oh, we got to wipe them out so they don't become like their like the Shadow did." But they are what made them become what the Shadow was, and it's like, oh my god, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You literally created what you were afraid of. And then I do have to talk about with this movie the fan service. There is quite a bit of it. Fan favorite characters returned. We got Wing, we got Zushi, we got Bisky, we got Hisaka. We even got some ones who didn't have as much of a role, but were still kind of there. Like, we saw a couple brief glances at Garenu from Greed Island. We saw Neon and Melody and all. And it's like, yeah, it's clearly kind of fan servicey a bit. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. there's some people who will look down on fan service and say like it takes away from things, but that's not necessarily true. Fan service can very much add to things, and I think in this case it very much did. Getting to see these characters again have active roles, like yeah, Bisky was shown during the chairman election arc, but she didn't really have a role. She was just briefly shown. Same with Garenu. But here they actually had a small role in the film. Hisoka very much didn't do much of anything in this movie, but he was there because he's popular and because he's fun. Because we like him. He's entertaining. He didn't take away anything from the movie. Having this take place at Heaven's Arena, like, it didn't necessarily need to. But that was a very fun, enjoyable, entertaining arc that introduced a lot of big concepts to this series, such as Nen. So actually having it take place here made sense with the introduction of this idea of Own being basically anti-Nen. So having it take place at the arena where we first found out about Nen in the first place makes sense. It works. It's fan service that fits within the story and the context of the film. And so I liked it. And although we didn't get to see Wing actually fight, only seeing the aftermath, which I'm a little disappointed at, all of them felt like they fit in with what they were needing to fit in with. They didn't overstay their welcome. They didn't take over the plot. They were side characters. They added flavor to the story and to the other characters. They were a supporting cast by all means. And that's what they did. They supported our main heroes that we're focused on. Even Kurapika and Leorio were much less focused on than the likes of Netero, Gon, Killua, and so on. Obviously, Kurapika even more than Leorio, but still. They all served their purpose to the degree that they needed to, and I think it worked out. Obviously, the voice acting was great. Obviously, the animation was amazing. It's a movie for a series that already had great animation. I expect the animation to be great. The music was, of course, awesome. It was just a fantastic film. I think it really stepped up. Again, not the best villain by any means. Honestly, I would say if you compared him with the villains of the actual series, I'd say he's one of the weaker ones, all things considered. Because the Hunter exam didn't really have like a singular villain. You could count Killua's family, I guess, as the villain of that arc. The Killua retrieval arc, or whatever you want to call it, the Zoldyck family arc. Heaven's Arena, I guess technically Hisoka was the main antagonist of that one. And obviously he's better. Then you had... Then after that, you had Yorknu with the Phantom Troop, and the Phantom Troop are like the best villains in this entire series. So yeah, which I know might not be exceptionally popular. A lot of people will say another one, which I'll get to in a second. But after that, you had Greed Island, in which case you had the Bombers, who I liked. A lot of people I know were a little critical about Greed Island's villains, but I thought they were good. I liked the Bombers as villains. And then, of course, you had the Chimera Ants in that arc with Meruem leading them. Most people would say Meruem is the best villain of the series. I disagree. But I would say he is better. And then of the chairman election arc, I guess you could count Pariston as the villain. I guess. Illumi too. Okay, yeah, both Pariston for the election stuff, Illumi for the Killua and Alaka stuff. So yeah. And Illumi's obviously better. Pariston is the only one who I might put below who I might put below Jed, and that's saying a lot. Um, and that's only because Pariston is just kind of a he lives up to his zodiac animal. He's just a rat. Although his little cameos in this movie were fucking hilarious, just smiling and waving at beans like that, the same exact way twice, not actually doing anything, was actually really funny. um, this takes place well before that, though, so if this movie actually came out before that arc in the anime, a lot of people probably just didn't even know who he was. Um, I don't know. No, I think the movie came out after the anime had finished already. I think I did see that. Either way. Tell me in the comments below, what did you think of Hunter x Hunter: The Last Mission? This was the kind of final thing for Hunter x Hunter that I really had to get to. There's no more for the time being. Again, I'm not really that interested in checking out the 99 series because it's the same stuff, just done a little differently and with more filler. I've heard about some of the filler, and I've even seen a little bit at the beginning of the 99 series, and it's not that good. um, and you could argue about certain scenes being done a little better in the 99 series, but the 2011 series, that I'm just going to stick with that. And now I've seen both of the movies and everything, so it's like there's not really anything else to go with because I, again, don't read manga, so it sucks, but maybe we'll get more Hunter x Hunter in the future. If any more ever comes to animation, you know I'll react to it in a heartbeat. So maybe that'll happen one day. But either way, like I said, tell me your thoughts on this film down below, and thank you all so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.